43 days. That's how long I've been chasing a goal most people think is impossible, $500,000. And today, I realized something powerful. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute ultimate test of human endurance, psychology, and success. We're going to see exactly what happens when you strip away every single distraction and force the human mind to confront extreme, uncomfortable challenges. Whether that means surviving in a literal white box, completely isolating yourself in the metaverse, or just grinding away in silence to build a real business.
Day 43. This challenge started with money, but every single day it becomes less about the money and way more about the person I'm becoming. 43 days ago, I waited for motivation. Now, I work even when motivation is completely gone. 43 days ago, I cared about views. Now, I just care about progress. 43 days ago, I wanted quick results, but now I understand that real success actually takes time. Because the truth is, nobody becomes successful overnight. What you see as an overnight success is usually years of invisible work. Hours of failure, hours of doubt, hours of showing up when absolutely nobody is watching. That is exactly where I am right now. The invisible phase. It's the phase where most people just quit. But I'm still here, still learning, still creating, still moving forward.
$500,000. It's a massive, literally life-changing number. And to put that into perspective, that was the exact prize dangling in front of two complete strangers, Bailey and Susie, in a wild psychological experiment hosted by Mr. Beast. They were placed in an isolation chamber, a completely blank white room, with a simple promise. If they could just survive 100 days in there together, they'd walk away with that $500,000. But if one of them left even a second early, they both got absolutely nothing. Talk about high stakes, right?
So here's the thing. Any journey to massive wealth, or hey, surviving an extreme challenge, pretty much follows this exact 100-day timeline. You always start at day 1 with incredibly high motivation. But right around day 43, you hit it, the invisible phase. This right here is the psychological abyss. It's that grinding, monotonous middle where the initial excitement has totally worn off, the finish line is nowhere in sight, and you seriously start questioning why you even started in the first place. This is exactly the spot where the vast majority of people give up on their businesses, their diets, or their biggest dreams. All right, let's jump into section 1, Surviving the Box, the Reality of Isolation. Let's talk about the gritty reality of this isolation. Inside that Mr. Beast cube, Bailey and Susie had zero concept of time. None. The lights were so blindingly white they physically stung their eyes, forcing them to build little cardboard shields just to cope. They ate the exact same canned chicken every single day. By day 4, the boredom was so incredibly crushing that they actually ripped up their journal paper just to craft a makeshift deck of playing cards. Think about this for a second. That soul-crushing repetition inside the box, it's a pretty brilliant metaphor for the reality of being stuck in a monotonous 9-to-5 job for years on end, right? Trading your freedom for an average paycheck of around $63,000 a year, just sitting there hoping something magical changes. And it's not just physical boxes. YouTuber Ryan Trahan spent 100 days strapped into a VR headset living as a 6'4", super confident avatar named Brian in the metaverse. In there, he had infinite digital connection. He was making friends, throwing massive virtual parties with Skrillex supposedly DJing. But in the physical world, the guy was totally alone. He was sitting on his floor eating stale pizza, dealing with crazy eye pain, and literally crying himself to sleep. He realized pretty quickly that this false digital popularity left him feeling completely empty and totally disconnected from real life. Which brings us to section 2, the trap of temptation. When you're stuck grinding in that invisible phase, whether you're in a white room, a VR headset, or just trying to build a business from scratch, your brain literally screams for immediate relief. On one side, you have instant gratification. On the other, delayed gratification. Every 10 days, Mr. Beast tested Bailey and Susie. On day 10, he offered them a private chef for the rest of the challenge for $50,000 out of their prize pool. They agonized over it, but they said no. On day 20, he offered them crazy, comfortable smart beds and the ability to finally turn off those blinding lights, again for $50,000. And again, they resisted. This is so much like the temptation to just give up on the hard grind of your entrepreneurial dreams for the false, short-term safety of a comfy 9-to-5 paycheck. The question is, do you take the relief right now, or do you hold out for the massive reward later?
But, willpower is absolutely a finite resource. It runs out. On day 60, Jimmy offered them a mystery box for $50,000. They played it safe and said no. But the reveal? It contained their $50,000 back plus 2 brand new Teslas. The regret was just devastating.
Susie whined about it for 9 days straight. The mental toll finally cracked them. So, when day 70 rolled around and Jimmy auctioned off every single item they had previously rejected, they panicked. They placed a massive bid of $100,101 just to buy back their comfort and escape the agonizing pain of that invisible phase. Moving on to Section 3, the survival blueprint: consume, apply, educate. So, how exactly do you survive this invisible phase without completely abandoning your ultimate prize? Well, entrepreneur Mark Tilbrew lays out a really simple, actionable blueprint to help you escape that metaphorical box and reach true financial freedom. It comes down to 3 steps: consume, apply, educate. These are the ultimate survival skills you need to conquer the invisible phase of building wealth and actually designing a life of true freedom. Let's kick things off with step 1, consume. Now, we're not talking about mindless doom scrolling here. This is the targeted gathering of knowledge for a high-income skill, things like coding, video editing, or copywriting. You can't just consume aimlessly. You need to use YouTube, read short-form book summaries, and honestly, most importantly, dive straight into Reddit and Discord communities. You have to actively seek out the real struggles people are having in those spaces, because that is exactly where you gather the priceless, real-world insights that a textbook is never, ever going to teach you. Which brilliantly leads us right into step 2, apply. You actually have to get out there in the real world and test what you've just consumed. And here is the real secret: you have to give yourself permission to fail. Seriously, Mark Zuckerberg didn't build Facebook on his very first try. J.K. Rowling faced 12 brutal rejections before Harry Potter was published. In this phase, you aren't just gaining money, you are gaining vital experiences and stories. You grind until you secure just 5 clients paying $2,000 a month, and boom, you've hit a 10K goal. From there, you scale. You create systems, you delegate tasks, so you aren't just working a high-paying job, but you're actually running a true business. And finally, step 3, educate. Honestly, teaching others is the absolute ultimate way to secure your freedom and build really predictable recurring revenue. If you use a platform like Kajabi, you just need 100 sales of a $100 course to hit that $10,000 a month mark. But why would people even listen to you? Simply because of your relatability. You just survived the invisible phase yourself, so you know exactly how they feel. You can use Mark Tilbury's impact principle: inspire, message, practical, authentic, connection, and timing. Your actual real-world stories of struggle become your single biggest asset. And that leads us to our final part, Section 4, the final choice.
All right, this brings us right back to the absolute climax of our 100-day survival journeys. Picture this. It is day 100 in the MrBeast Cube. Bailey and Susie have survived the invisible phase. They've endured the blinding lights, the awful monotony, the bitter regret of the Teslas, and the sheer madness of it all. Now the final twist is revealed: the prisoner's dilemma. Do they press split and share what's left of the prize money, or do they press steal to try and take it all, fully risking the chance that if they both press steal, they walk away with absolutely nothing after 100 days of pure psychological torture? And against all odds, despite literally driving each other crazy for over 3 months, they recognized that shared suffering of the invisible phase, and they preserved their humanity. They both chose to split. It's a perfect mirror to Ryan Trahan's journey, too. At the end of his 100 days, Ryan realized that digital fame ultimately meant nothing. He finally took off his VR headset, stepped back into the real physical world, and shared a real-life meal with his metaverse friend Clay. They both chose real human connection over the illusion of the game. Because every day I continue, the odds of success increase, and every day I quit, the dream dies. So quitting is no longer an option. Whether you are trapped in a literal white box, lost in a virtual world, or just pushing through the grueling early days of building your own business, true success is never, ever an overnight phenomenon. It's all about enduring the invisible phase, refusing to give up when it gets boring or painful, and focusing entirely on the person you are becoming. Day 43 complete. 57 days left. $500,000 is still the goal, and the journey continues. So I'll leave you with this. When the invisible phase strips away all of your motivation, will you press forward, or will you let the dream die?